Cellular respiration, the things autotrophs and heterotrophs do, by Miss Hoskins. In this video, you are going to learn how to analyze structure and function between cells and provide an explanation for the role that cellular respiration plays in the cycling of matter and the flow of energy within a cell. After glycolysis, the cell must make a decision. If oxygen is present, then the cell will go through a two-step process known as aerobic respiration, where it's going to use oxygen. Or if oxygen is not present, then the cell is going to go through a process of anaerobic respiration. We also call that fermentation in order to get energy. So in glycolysis, if there's oxygen, O2 gas, it's going to go into an aerobic process, and if there is none, it's going to become an anaerobic process, also known as fermentation. Okay, so what happens if oxygen is not available? Then we're going to go through a process of anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic, in the absence of oxygen, the cell is going to go through a respiration process, and we typically call that fermentation. That's the name that's usually given to the reference of plants, mostly. Going through fermentation means that they're respiring, there's cellular respiration, but oxygen's not available. And there's two main types of fermentation, lactic acid fermentation and then alcohol fermentation. And this happens in both plant cells and animal cells. I just want to clarify that anaerobic respiration goes on in both those types of cells. So lactic acid fermentation occurs in bacteria and animal cells, like your muscle cells. And have you ever worked out or ran the mile and you feel so exhausted, you start to feel that pain in the side of your belly? That is a lactic acid fermentation process. The pyruvate molecules that we made from glycolysis, where we split a sugar in half, those are now starting to convert to acetic acid, and they're going to make 2 ATP molecules. Your body is starting to run out of accessible oxygen, and so it's trying to turn on another way to create energy. All right, alcohol fermentation, that occurs in yeast when there's no oxygen available. That pyruvate product of glycolysis is now going to be broken down into an alcohol, carbon dioxide, and 2 ATP. So when you don't have any oxygen in the presence of yeast, that is how we make beer, wine. We go through alcohol fermentation, where all plant material, when you mix it with yeast, you let it sit there, and if you keep it out of the presence of oxygen, you get the sugars inside of the plant material, whether it be hops or barley or grapes for wine and hops and barley for beer. Then that fermentation process breaks down the sugar into the pyruvate, smaller carbon molecules, and then from there it gets broken down into an alcohol molecule. Carbon dioxide is also a product of that, and ATP for energy. So if we look at the combined total here, aerobic respiration is going to make somewhere between 36 and 38 ATP. You're going to get 2 of them from glycolysis, 2 of them from the Krebs cycle, and 34 of them from the electron transport chain. And if you're anaerobic, and that is no oxygen, then you're getting 2 and 4 ATP molecules through those processes. Now, when we compare photosynthesis to cellular respiration, think about it this way. In photosynthesis, we are inside of the plant cell and inside of the chloroplast. So this is the chloroplast, and we have those granostacks and the alkaloid membrane, carbon dioxide is going to pass through the chloroplast along with water, and the chloroplast is going to put it through the process of photosynthesis and spit out sugar and oxygen. Mitochondria, which are an organelle inside of cells, both plant and animal, are going to take oxygen in and sugar. I did that backwards. Oxygen and then sugar, and put it through cellular respiration, which out comes carbon dioxide, water, and energy. And that is cellular respiration kind of wrapped up in a video.